All right. So again, welcome everyone. I have 10:59, 11 a.m. Central Time. We'll give another minute or two to see how many other folks will join us, and then we will go ahead and get started with implementing the Cybersecurity Basics course for grades K through 8. Once again, so happy to have y'all here. Hi, Ed. Good morning. All right.
Good
Well,
morning.
how are you? How's Utah?
It's been very warm lately.
I can definitely relate. Definitely. All right. Well, I am going to go ahead and get started because we have an action-packed 90 minutes for you all. So we don't want to waste any time, and we certainly want to respect your time. So we are just thrilled that y'all are here. So before we get started, and it looks like just about everyone handled business from the email that was sent out. But for those who need to change their Zoom name, we have one person in the office who is going to be generating participation certificates for people who show up. So having your name match what is on the roster would be super helpful for that person. So if you find your name in the participants list, when you hover over it, there are three little dots. If you click on those three little dots, one of the options is to rename yourself. So we ask that you at least put your first name so that our staff member can easily match your attendance here today with your name on the original registration roster. Actually, you'll see when you click those three dots that you could change your profile picture as well, but who's going to do that? So let's jump right in. You are currently hearing the dulcet tones of one Linda Morgan. I am a cybersecurity curriculum specialist here at cyber.org. Joining me on the call is the lovely Jess Hexel. And just a little bit about us. I started my teaching career about 14 years ago, teaching mostly middle school math and science. When I moved to lovely Bossier City, Louisiana, where the cyber.org offices are located, I was all set to teach sixth grade ELA when my principal came to me and asked me how I felt about robotics. And I was like, well, if it means I have a job, I feel great. And she said, well, awesome, because training starts tomorrow. And that started my journey into all things STEM. So I have taught sixth, seventh, and eighth grade robotics, sixth grade math, eighth grade science, basically anything but social studies because I'm not certified in social studies. I'm alt cert. I started my career in journalism. And so I was told in our training program, don't take the test for anything you don't want to teach. And I took that seriously. I love history, but I didn't really have a heart for social studies. So that's a little bit about me. Jess, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I am Jess Hexel. I'm also a cybersecurity curriculum specialist here at cyber.org. I started teaching probably around the same time. I taught for 12 years in Palo Alto, California, high school math and computer science, and joined the cyber.org team in May of this year. And I am still based in California. However, I'm joining you today from Washington, D.C. We have a lot going on this week, so virtual PD with you all in the afternoon for the time zone I'm in, morning for many of us, and then some events later today for women in STEM and computer science in Washington, D.C. So lots going on. Super excited to have you all join us today and learn about cybersecurity basics.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess. That's super exciting, the event that she is attending in DC. So I'm kind of jealous, but it's all good. So a little bit about cyber.org. We are a government nonprofit. We are funded through a grant from the Department of Homeland Security, specifically CISA, which is why you'll find our logo on almost all of our materials. But it is our belief that K-12 cyber education is the key to solving the cyber workforce shortage. And so our approach to filling that gap is doing exactly what we are doing right now, empowering you, the classroom teacher, with resources and training needed to deliver cyber content to students to get them excited so that hopefully they will step into those careers. We have over 30,000 teachers, educators currently enrolled in our cyber.org curriculum. And so, of course, over 30,000 educators impacted through professional development. And we are super excited to add y'all to those numbers. So a little bit about y'all. We have a Slido set up for audience participation. And so if you open another tab on your computer and head over to slido.com, you can enter that event code 194238, and we'll use that as a way to sort of get some audience participation. Obviously, any questions you have can go in the chat, but we just like to show off fun and exciting technology out there. So we are going to start off with a Slido question that asks, which of the following best describes you? So our categories are K2 educator, 3-5 educator, 6-8 educator, 9-12 educator, and administration or curriculum. That would also include counselors. So if you fall into one of those categories, pick the one that you fall into the most. Usually we get educators, especially in the elementary space, who come back and tell us, you know, I'm K-5 or I'm K-8 because of the way that my school is set up. So just the one that describes you the most. And wow, this is a turn of events. We have a lot of administrators / curriculum folks. So we've got 16 people in the room, 14 if you don't count Jess and I. 12 of you have already responded. So wow, this is a very interesting makeup today. So that is awesome. All right. So my next question will populate on the screen in the form of a word cloud. It is a sentence starter here. So you are filling in the blank on, to me, cybersecurity is. So fill in the blank there. Oh, exciting. Very nice. Necessary. Absolutely. Essential, important. I love these. That's why we're here, right? If we thought it was anything else. Oh, not a trend. I love that. It's a journey, essential learning, Absolutely. Daunting. Well, hopefully not after this 90 minutes. But yes, it certainly can be. And that is why we were definitely prompted to create a course like Cybersecurity Basics. Because, I'm sure that, my story resonates with a lot of folks. We are voluntold that we are going to be teaching things. And so we are not sure where to go with that. And so, we fall down the rabbit hole of trying to prepare the best that we can for our students. And luckily, we're going to introduce you to a resource that puts it all out in front of you and gives you options about what materials you put in front of your students. So this is super great. I love this word cloud. So taking a look at our objectives for this 90 minutes, we are, of course, going to introduce cybersecurity basics. We are going to explore Canvas and where to find the cybersecurity basics materials. We'll take a look at dissecting a cybersecurity basics lesson guide, and then we'll see a K-2 lesson, a 3-5 lesson, a 6-8 lesson. We'll hit you with some additional PD opportunities. And then at the end, we have a short little survey so that you guys can tell us how we did. It helps keep the lights on. So thanking you in advance for participating in that. All right. So this screen right here contains a QR code that can be scanned to take you to be able to sign up for our curriculum. But Jess has also put in the chat a link. And Roy, I can certainly share these slides with you. I'm not sure what the Slidos will look like in an exported copy, but I can, with the same email addresses that we sent out information about today's session, I can go ahead and send that to you. So I can definitely handle that. So let's talk a little bit about curriculum access. Oh yes, thank you, Jess. The recording of today's PD will also be available in the next couple of weeks in an exciting new section of Canvas that will basically be on-demand PD. So if you wanted to rewatch this session, or if you are interested in any other part of cyber.org and our curriculum, those will be at your fingertips for any time that you want to watch them 24 hours a day. So speaking of that Canvas, so Canvas is our LMS, but really we sort of treat it more like a file repository, like GitHub or Google Drive. So you are the students, which means that you won't put your students onto our Canvas account. We definitely don't want a student PII. And our application process is actually vetted by a real person who has actually had a couple of students apply before looking to get access to answer keys for things. And so, he has had to kind of reply to their email and be like, thank you so much for your interest. Maybe you should talk to your teacher. So the way that we sort of envision you working with our Canvas page is that you will download any of the materials that you want. Our lesson guides are available as PDFs. Our PowerPoints are available as PowerPoints that you can edit and add to as you see fit. And so it is our intention that you will download those from Canvas and then upload them to whatever LMS you are currently using. We've also had questions like, hey, our school is actually using Canvas. Would it be possible for us to import your Canvas course into our current Canvas? And the answer to that is also no, because again, we're sort of envisioning it as a file repository where you can get the things that you need. And so once you see how amazing our products are, we would ask that you don't share them, don't share those downloaded materials with your teacher friends. Share with them the information where they can get their own Canvas account so that they can have access to the materials. Mostly shameless plug because it helps our numbers. So let's take a look now at our Canvas. So first of all, this is our website, cyber.org. And if you didn't click on the link, you would be able to click that sign up link right there. And this is the form that Jess's link would have taken you to, where you fill out a little bit about yourself. And then once you get the email saying that your account has been created, it will give you your username, which will be the email address that you sign up with. To expedite the process more quickly, it would be super helpful if you use your teacher email address whenever you are applying for Canvas access instead of using just like your regular summertime email. So if you can make that change while you are applying, that would be awesome. So then when you log in with that username and password, the first thing that you'll want to do is change that temporary password. So up here where it says account, if you go and click on settings, it will take you to where you are able to change your password. And so another thing that you will be able to do is that if you wanted to be able to access Canvas with that summertime email address, you'd be able to add that email address as well. So you can see I've got my personal email in there as well. So in here through settings, you can go through and look at some of the ways that you are able to interact with our Canvas page. But really, you're going to be most interested in the dashboard. The dashboard recently went through sort of a facelift, and I'm not going to lie, I love it because as a classroom teacher, when I first signed up for cyber.org's Canvas access, when I first came and looked into Canvas, I noticed I had access to every single course. I had just gone to a PD for one thing, but then when I logged in, I was like, oh my goodness, I have all the things. And I couldn't remember what the name of the course was that I'd gone to the PD for. And so I had to sort of search and root around. And so hopefully we have made that a little less daunting by separating our materials into what we think would be the most helpful for elementary teachers, middle school teachers, and high school teachers. Now, when you click into these, you'll notice that there will be a lot of overlap. So if we look in the elementary, we have Cybersecurity Basics, which we're talking about today, but we also have Coding Fundamentals, Computational Thinking, Science Plus, and then down under here and additional resources, we have a link to our cyber range, which is actually super cool. And some things that are forward facing on the website, like keys to cybersecurity. And so we have some different things. So if I go back to the dashboard though, and I go over to middle school, again, you'll notice there's some overlap there because there's cybersecurity basics, there's coding fundamentals and computational thinking. So it's not that any particular resource is sectioned off and just meant specifically for a particular teaching group. It's just that we tried to sort them in a way that we thought would be most helpful. So if I go into that elementary again, I'm going to go ahead and click on Cybersecurity Basics just to show you what it will look like. Right now, our Cybersecurity Basics course is divided up into two sections. That top section being digital citizenship. And so we've got lessons under digital citizenship addressing things like cyberbullying, motivations of people online, personally identifiable information. And then when we come down into the security section, it's got lessons like passwords and beyond, cryptography, attacks, secure network. And so as you're going through the materials, what you'll see is that right now for K2 and 3-5, we have 10 lessons, 5 of them in digital citizenship and 5 of them in security. And so right now, the thought with that is usually elementary teachers teach all the things. And so if you are tapped with teaching cybersecurity, your first thought is, okay, so do I get rid of science? Do I get rid of social studies? Like, well, what am I kicking out to make room for this? And the good news is that we really don't want you to have to do any of that. So we have 10 lessons aimed at having you teach one lesson a month that you can pick from your choice, and it won't be too heavy of a lift. So if we come into cybersecurity, the cyber bullying, for example, it further breaks down into the K2, the 3-5, and the 6-8. You'll notice we've got our lesson guides and our slides, and that we are also working very hard to make sure that we have materials in Spanish. So you'll see Spanish links beside a lot of this. We have a staff member in our office who is working very diligently every day to translate as much of our course materials as possible into Spanish for ease of access for those English language learners. So if I come back to, let's take a look at the lesson guides that you'll find for each of these lessons. So again, this is our digital citizenship cyberbullying. And so the arrow right there is pointing to, of course, the bundle, the topic, and then the title of the lesson. This K2 lesson is entitled Don't Be Mean Behind the Screen. Each lesson contains a lesson overview to tell you a little bit about what the lesson will be about, as well as those student objectives that we have to put into our lesson plans. It comes complete with a guiding question or a focus question, depending on what you refer to it as. And it also has the grade level and the approximate time. So K2 lessons usually span between 15 and 30 minutes. Our 3-5 lessons span anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. And then our 6-8, because usually 6-8, those are elective courses, we try to give you an entire class period at 45 to 60 minutes. So it tells you the breakdown for those lessons. And thank you, Jess, for throwing those in the chat. Very nice. So our lessons are aligned to our cybersecurity standards. On the website, cyber.org, you can find our standards if you wanted to look at all of the standards under the initiatives page. And so we have a link that will pull up a very nice PDF where you can read through all of our standards. And so you can see the different groups here. So again, right now, Cybersecurity Basics covers digital citizenship and security, but we are also working real hard to write brand new lessons for our computing systems standards. So eventually you're going to have even more lessons to choose from to introduce to your students. So our standards are there to be able to read through, but each lesson is tied to at least one standard. And so this is the front page of that lesson guide. On the very next page, we have a little bit of a lesson background to give you some more in-depth information about the lesson and why we feel that it is important to teach. We also list the materials that you will need to teach the lesson. And for K2 lessons, our cyber terms will usually also come with a picture that we think tries to do a good job of defining that term, especially for the lower grades, kindergarten and first grade. We know that the lesson can get a little lost if they are having to sort of try to decode and go through and look at those words on the screen. So we try to be real helpful and offer an image there that will help define our terms as well. On the next page of the lesson plan, again, this is where going through the actual steps of the lesson would begin. So it comes back again to that title and the guiding question. And then you will notice that the lesson is scripted. It is broken down into a different section. This one is called the lesson launch. This gets the session or lesson started. It is labeled with which slide you'll be using when you do a specific thing. We have questions that you will ask, and then we even go in and put in what the student answers should be or could be so that you can guide the conversation in that way. And then you'll notice that we also include in a bold print at least the first time that we use any of the cyber terms that are in the lesson. We also, the next section of the lesson would be an activity. We tell you about how long each part of the lesson will take. And we provide teacher tips, lesson tips, and notes anywhere that we can to help make teaching the lesson easier or offer a little bit more information specific to that part of the lesson that we didn't include in the background. If we see any spots for differentiation, we'll throw that in there as well. And you'll notice that each lesson ends with a putting it all together section to include that closure unit that I know a lot of administrators look for whenever they are coming in to do an observation. Here in Louisiana, if you've done a spot on lesson that ticks all of the boxes for an administrator, you can score a top score of a 4. So when we sat down to write these lessons, we tried to think about what would get a teacher a 4. What are the elements in a lesson that would get top marks? And so we tried to write the very best version of these lessons so that if you decided to implement them during an observation, you'd get top marks just like you would with any other lesson that you teach in your classroom. So we've got that closure unit there. We also offer on several of the lessons optional extensions. If the attention span is going great or you just want to add a little bit more to the lesson, we have some thoughts and ideas for you there. This extension is actually pretty interesting because it does include an outside video link. We do try to limit those because since we don't control them, it is sometimes difficult to tell whether or not the videos will still be there. But I did click on the link for this one, and it is a super cute video about cyberbullying that is told from the perspective of some younger students. And so it's actually a really cute video that would be super fun to show to your students in class as well. So let's take a look at the PowerPoint for this lesson. Each lesson does come with a PowerPoint. That PowerPoint is completely editable for you. The lesson guides and the handouts themselves come as PDFs, which of course are a little bit less editable, but the PowerPoints themselves, you can edit them in whatever way you choose. You can bring them into your Google Drive if you're a Google Slides kind of classroom, and all of the transitions and animations and things like that show up beautifully. And so there is room there. So the lesson again starts out, because it is aimed at younger students, with what we try to consider to be a very powerful visual. And so the question that goes along with this slide, and feel free to drop an answer into the chat if you want to, says, look at the following picture. Does it show someone being upset or happy about something? If you'd rather use the reactions, you can hit me with a thumbs up if you think that this child is happy, or a thumbs down if you think that this child is sad. Oh, Ed says this child may be critically thinking about something. That is certainly an option as well. Corey's got a thumbs down. So Corey thinks that this child could definitely be sad about something. And I tend to agree. I think that this picture might be a student being sad about something. So take a look at this picture. How do you think that the person in this picture feels? Oh, we've got some frowny faces. Absolutely. Um, so we would definitely think that this person is feeling sad as well. So what kinds of technology might people use to cyberbully? And so at this point, we start introducing the concept of cyberbullying being that, that one-sided power struggle, but involving the use of technology. And so we would say, in the lesson, sadly, some people use their digital devices to send a bunch of mean messages to other people, and that is called cyberbullying. We don't want to be mean to others on the computer, even though no one can see us behind the screen. And so we also start to tackle that concept of, it being easier to be mean to someone when they are just a avatar on the screen, a person on a screen who can't, really see you or respond to what you're doing. So we're already sort of introducing the concepts and the foundations that go into cyberbullying. And so the activity for this lesson is a what should I do? And it goes through some scenarios where we ask the student to move to different sides of the room based on whether or not they think that the scenario that you will read is something that they should do or something that they shouldn't do. And so this one asks, should you make fun of someone on text messages because they are different? And so you would ask the students to move to either the side of the room where you would have one of those signs posted that says do it or don't do it. And those signs are actually located at the end of the lesson guide for you to be able to print out and place in your room so that the students can move. And so it actually comes with the answer of don't do it. And so at that point, you could have a conversation with your students, depending on what side of the room they're on, what made them go to that side of the room? Why would they think that sending those messages is okay, or why they think those messages are not okay? There are several of these, but I picked two. So the second one is, if you see a friend emailing bad things over and over to someone, should you tell the teacher? And so again, they would get to pick which side of the room they want to move to, either the do it or don't do it side of the room. And then there is an answer on this slide of doing it. And so once again, you can facilitate that conversation of why would it be a good idea, especially in a society now where even at the kindergarten level, students know the phrase snitches get stitches. So it's a really good opportunity for you to be able to discuss with them the role that they play in stopping cyberbullying. So like I said, there are several of those. And then in the putting it all together section, this is a great chance to review what was learned. And so hopefully by the time the lesson is over, they are able to answer the question, if you happen to be cyberbullied, what are some things that you can do? Why would somebody want to cyberbully a person? What does cyberbullying look like specifically? So again, another chance to differentiate between bullying, cyberbullying, and what is just someone being mean, because there is a difference between those three things. And then, of course, ending the lesson with what to do if you are cyberbullied. So again, a great lesson for facilitating a conversation that can be difficult to have with students, especially if those students are already being, bullied or cyberbullied, and they are feeling a little bit hopeless because they're not sure what they are supposed to do. This is a great way to put that topic in front of your kids and let them know, that they have options. You are an ally. Their parents are safe people to talk to, and so just a really good topic for conversation and a way to facilitate that conversation. So, any questions about anything that you saw in that quick overview of that K2 lesson? You can come off mute. You can put it in the chat. Anything at all. All right, fantastic. Well, at this point, then I am going to stop sharing my screen and allow Jess to share her screen because she's going to take a look at a 3-5 lesson with you.
All right, everybody. I hope you are super excited because the 3-5 lesson that we are going to look at right now is actually one of our brand new, unreleased, never before seen computing systems lessons that are coming out in September. So we thought we'd demo it here for you today, show you that new domain of standards that are being released soon, and let you get a sneak peek at one of these new lessons in computing systems. So this is our 3-5 lesson on network components, and our standard is identify specific network components. So getting a little bit more technical than our cyberbullying, again, because it is that computing systems domain, so it is a little more technical, but we are looking at making connections. So what is a network connection and what devices are needed to make these connections? When we get into our 3-5 lessons, we do include those guiding questions on the screen as well as the objectives. You'll actually start seeing that come up in our K2 lessons in the future as well, with the option to delete it if you don't think it's appropriate to show at the K2 range. But we include them for all of our 3.5 and 6.8 lessons. So here are our guiding question and objectives going into this lesson on network components. We want to get students to define the concept of a network, visualize a network, so they're actually going to act out kind of forming a network that's connected through string or yarn, and each student will be a device that's connected on the network. And then they're going to work on calculating paths between devices and understand the impact that a device no longer being connected has on the overall network. So what does it mean if one of our systems is down, and how does that impact our paths that we can connect through? So we're going to talk about what is a network. We're going to give them an understanding of how big the networks in our internet and everything really are, with a reference to kind of submarine cables, even as a way of connecting the entire world to each other. But we're going to bring it down smaller than that to the classroom level, but make sure they know that it's bigger than just this little 8-person network that we will form in our classroom. And this is the part in the lesson where the teacher can edit as much as they want or not, where in a second, as soon as I click a few more times, you're going to see some rules come up on how we're going to connect a network of students acting as devices. And these rules were just based on something we decided for the lesson that made sense and was age appropriate for the 3.5 level. But the teacher can adjust these rules as they see fit. Maybe they haven't covered a math topic yet that's addressed in here. Maybe they want to introduce a different lesson, but you'll see what I'm talking about in 1 second. So we're going to say that students can connect in their group if they are both odd numbers. So each student will have a different number card that is their device number. So if they are number 2, they'll read this and they'll think, I'm not an odd number. I can't connect to another odd number because I'm not odd. You're both even. So again, that student who gets card number 2, they're going to be like, okay, I'm number 2, I'm even, I'm looking for other even numbers that I can make those connections with. And then our third rule for the example, again, changeable if you choose, is that you can connect if you are a factor of another device's number. So in the lesson setup that the teacher sees, we ask you to create groups and give them numbers starting with the number 2, so that the person who's number 1 isn't a factor of everyone and can't automatically make all of the connections. So we want to start with 2 so that we limit the connections at the beginning. And you'll see that in a minute. But before we get into actually building the network, we introduce the rules and then want to make sure the students understand it. So we show them an example. Can device number 2 connect directly to device number 4? If anyone wants to answer or give us a thumbs up. Yay.
I don't usually math in public, so me giving you a thumbs up is quite a breakthrough for me.
All right, so hopefully our students would know that 2 and 4 are able to form a direct connection because they are both even numbers. And then we have 3 and 6. Are 3 and 6 allowed to form a direct connection? We have to remember the rules, both even, both odd, or a factor. Anyone want to change their vote? Rule number 3 was if they're a factor of another number. That's okay. I don't have the rules displayed, so you really had to remember what I said a few slides ago. All right, so 3 is a factor of 6, so they are able to have a direct connection even though 3 is odd and 6 is even. So that would be a good reason we demonstrated, which is great, to have those rules up somewhere else as you're going through the practice round. So maybe having them written on the whiteboard or somewhere else after you introduce them, and they will appear again. They're just not on this slide. So, but yes, so 3 and 6 can form a connection because 3 is a factor of 6. All right, and how about our third example? Thank you, Linda, for putting our rules in the chat. Can 2 and 5 form a direct connection? Ooh, I didn't even know there was a red X emoji in Zoom.
Well, I was going
Like it.
through and I'm like, oh, all of mine are positive. Where's my thumbs down?
All right, so hopefully our students and us will recognize that 2 is even, 5 is odd, 2 is not a factor of 5, so we cannot form a direct connection here. All right, and that's going to have some impact on our overall network when we get it fully connected and established. But right now, it's just helpful for us to know that as we then would test the students to physically connect their networks. Again, each student given a number card, and then ideally having some sort of yarn or string to physically form the connections of the network so they can really visualize it. Be creative. Your elementary teachers and middle school teachers, you're more creative than high school teachers. Having them hold hands, something else to physically see that connection, putting their desks next to each other in some way. Make it work for the room and space that you have, but physically building out that network of connected devices, aka students, so that they can see who they are connected to and who they aren't connected to. Yeah, hopefully that came across that I'm giving you compliments that you're all more creative than I am. I am a high school teacher through and through. Right. So then we would have this sample network. So hopefully we would see this with actual students instead of the numbers. And we do suggest trying to use different colors in that yarn or whatever you're having them connect with so that they can really see that even numbers are connected with, in this case, I think it's a kind of teal color. The odd numbers are connected with an orange, and the factors are connected with a third color, in this case, purple, just to see those different rules acted out. And then once we get our network built, we want to ask them, how do they get from a device to another device? Now that they can see the whole thing, can they predict or plan a path to get from device 2 to device 4? Is that an easy path to calculate? We should see that that's one of our original rules. 2 and 4 are both even numbers, so that's actually just a direct connection. We can move directly from device 2 to device 4. We don't need any special other devices in our path. But then we get into a new one. I know it doesn't look like the slide changed, but it did because the numbers at the top changed. Can we get from device 2 to device 5? So look at the whole network and put in the chat or come off mute and tell me if you see a way to get from device 2 to device 5. So we said in our practice of the rules that they can't connect directly, but now that our whole network is connected, are they able to communicate? Yes, good. I see it. I love it. Great. We see that we're using that factor connection of 3 and 6. That factor connection is building a bridge between odd numbers and even numbers for us in this network connection. And it's also introducing the idea of a switch. So we're really getting into those network components of what are the actual devices. So it's not just our cell phones or our computers, but now we're using an intermediate device to connect multiple devices. And we're going to start introducing some bigger technical vocabulary that would mean we are using a switch on the network to connect across devices. So we would go from 2 to 6 to 3 to 5. All right. There are more examples in the original lesson. We did cut it short so that we can make sure we get through everything today with you all. But if you see this lesson in the future, not yet because it doesn't exist on the website yet, you will see other examples. You can always add in more of your own again, and you can always change it depending on what skills you're working on in your classroom and want to use as your rules. So then we're going to talk about what happens when a device loses connectivity. So we've introduced this idea of switches helping devices connect to other devices, and what happens if we lose connectivity. So in the physical example of students being connected, device 2 would drop their connections. In our example on the PowerPoint, we just show device 2 losing its connections, and we just want to know what happened. So what happened overall to our network when device 2 is no longer connected to the network? How much changes? Or what's different? You don't have to answer. I can give you the answer. Yep. There are less lines now, because all of the ones that 2 was connected to are gone. Did any other connections break? Can still see most of our other connections. So in this case, device 2 was just a regular device on the network, and it didn't impact the rest of the network by losing its connections. No one can communicate to device 2, and it can no longer communicate with the network, but no one else on the network is impacted. Okay. But what about device 3? So this is, again, our starting network, and then we'll go ahead and show device 3 losing its connections. How does device 3 losing its connections impact the overall network?
Looks like it shuts a lot of things down. You have like all the connection between 3 and 6, and those are now missing.
Yeah, exactly. So device 3 was one of our switches, right? It was one of our factors in this network. So it was helping our odd numbers and even numbers communicate with each other. And with that one gone, we've lost a lot of the connectivity in the network. And somebody also put in the chat, 5 and 7 are now isolated. They can only communicate back and forth. They no longer have access to the rest of the network. Good. So yeah, that one shut us down a lot. And then we're going to introduce one more thing just to be fun and extra. What happens when we add a new device? And this is, remember we said we weren't using the number 1 at the beginning. So we're going to use the number 1 now. What happens if we add number 1, or as I like to call it, our super device in technical terms, our router?
I don't know if I'm allowed to answer, but it looks like it's connected to everything.
Yeah, it's connected to everything, right? Now everything is connected. 3 and 6 are no longer our only paths between even and odd numbers. So everything can connect back to 1 since 1's a factor of everything. And it just really opens. Sorry.
Would I be able to say, I'm making an observation. Would I be able to say if a student was to figure this out that a router so a router is a device it gives you more connectivity? That's like in real world, that's what a router basically does.
Yeah, and in the definition, if you were following the script, you would actually say a super device like number 1 that connects all devices on the network or connects smaller networks to each other is called a router. So you would give them the actual definition in this part. Yeah, but we would definitely throw that in. You could also add in, I think this is an extension for the activity, which you won't see in the PowerPoint because it's only in the PDF, but you could even introduce that device number 1, that router, connecting other networks. If you have multiple groups in your room, you could have device 1 connect to all of the other groups in the room. It could even be you being that central point connecting everyone to really show that. Yeah. And it also is going to get us into the idea of redundancy and how networks are built for redundancy. And that before we only had one way for odd numbers and even numbers to communicate. But now by having this extra machine, if device 3 loses connectivity in this scenario, odd numbers and even numbers still have a way to communicate with everyone else. And then in our 3-5 lessons is also when we start introducing our cyber career spotlights. So we try to connect each lesson to one of our cyber career profile cards and have students look at it, read through it with a partner, discuss what they think is interesting about this particular cyber career, working back to our goal as trying to address the workforce gap in cybersecurity. So we show the front and back of our actual cyber career profile cards, and then the actual career profile that gives a lot more information on this particular cyber career. And then just like in our K2 lesson, putting it all together, having an opportunity to summarize everything we've just done, asking what those super devices were called that allow all of the devices to connect on the network or multiple networks to connect to each other, reminding them that we learned about routers, asking them to remember what happened when a device lost connectivity, gained connectivity, and how a particular device responded to either themselves losing connectivity or a different device losing connectivity around them and how that impacted them on the network. And that is making connections.
That is such a cool lesson. I'm sure everybody else is excited, but like even this is the first time that I'm seeing this particular lesson, and it's really cool. I love that it's got kids up. Actually thinking about and creating those connections with the activity. It goes even deeper with having them sort of figure out what happens when one of those devices goes down. This is like Ms. Kramer said, this is a super way to learn and explain about what a network really is. So I'm very excited for when the computer systems part of Cybersecurity Basics actually launches on Canvas. This is going to be a really great addition. So before we head into the 6-8 portion, I wanted to take a second to show you guys where to find those career profile cards, because cyber.org did a lot of my classroom decorating. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I want to show you on the website where you can find these. So over on career exploration, we actually have different links in the drop-down menu for you to be able to explore those cyber career profiles online. Over on the side here, there is a way to sort of root through them. You can look at the careers that just require an associate's degree. You can look at the careers that don't even really require a degree, but rather a certification. But if you just click on career exploration by itself, you don't select an item from the dropdown, it takes you to this page. And on this page, you can actually access a full set of those cards. And so this first set right here is the 8x8, the career profile card that Jess was talking about, the full profile. These are actually the cards that I printed out for my classroom. I printed them at home. I'm on my color printer because they print out 8x8, and then use my little paper cutter to get them looking all fancy. And then I actually hung these at the computers in my classroom. So every time the students would sit at a different computer, they were able to read about a different cyber career. And so those are excellent. If you scroll further down, you can also get access to a PDF of those career profile cards. And I'm not going to lie, at my school, I was also the team tech, so I had access to our badge printer, and I could totally see me putting my job in jeopardy to print these on some of those plastic badges just to make them even better for kids to pass around. But even if you wind up just printing them on regular paper and having them to pass around in the classroom, those are really good. But if we scroll even a little bit farther down, you'll see that we also have a Spanish version of those career profile cards. And so on the front, it has the name of the career in Spanish, and then on the back, the information. And I love how they put these little triangles along the border there so that you could tell the two apart just real quick, fast, in a hurry. I would be able to tell because I wouldn't be able to understand what this card is saying. But if you are one of those bilingual folks who, very quickly goes back and forth and feels like you understand both, it's at least nice that they have a little bit of a visual separation there. And so you can find these. And then if you are interested in what other careers are out there beyond the set of 24 that you are able to print from our website, we have a link to NICE, which is where we actually found the careers. And so they have a matrix of hundreds of careers that the students can sort through based on skills, based on interest. And so we have the opportunity for them to see even more careers that would be possible. So that is a great resource, and I just loved them because they're full color. The characters that we have on the cards we chose very intentionally for different groups, whether it be based on race, gender, or ability, because it is much easier for a student to picture themselves in a cyber career if they see something of themselves in the materials that we have posted around the classroom. So I think that it is very important for them to be able to see themselves reflected in the materials that we post in our classroom. So I really love the career profile cards for that. So let's take a look at the sixth grade lesson. And this is actually sort of the best of two lessons because the six through eight section on the CIA triad actually has two lessons. There's a part one and a part two. And so part one is entitled Keeping Secrets with the CIA, triad. Because if you're like me, you probably didn't realize that CIA in this regard doesn't stand for Central Intelligence Agency. And so we go through and we actually talk about what the CIA in this context does stand for. And so just like the other lessons, we have our focus question or guiding question along with our student objectives. And so we see in the lesson, we start out with, a activity of actually building a tripod out of kitchen twine and pencils because I love a good camp gadget. And so when I thought of the three parts of the CIA triad, I also thought of, a tripod and the strength that it brings in design when you are putting things together. And so it starts out with that, and then it gives you the option that if the students are going to be able to keep their little tripod, that they are actually able to create little labels to tape around each leg of the tripod that are labeled confidentiality, integrity, and availability, because those are the C, the I, and the A that we are talking about when we talk about the CIA triad. The other activity that is in the lesson is what science friend and I affectionately refer to as a thinking links. Whenever we were looking for ways to put review activities in front of our students, we would make one of these little matrices and we would have key thoughts from different units. And so we would have them be able to color in what part of the science chapter we were talking about. And so I was like, ooh, I could do that with this as well. So I have gone ahead and labeled the different parts of the CIA triad with the reactions from Zoom. And so we are going to read through the scenarios. And if you think that the part of the CIA triad that is failing the most is confidentiality, then you would pick the thumbs up reaction. If you think that the part that is failing the most is integrity, then you would pick the heart reaction. If you think it is an issue of availability, then you would pick the confetti party blower reaction. So the first one says, Tyler did not log out of a public computer after checking his grades at the library. Jose used the same public computer later that day and was able to see Tyler's grades. So in terms of the CIA, would that be a failure of confidentiality, integrity, or availability? All right, I'm getting some thumbs up. All right, got a C in the chat, and y'all are exactly correct. This would be a failure of confidentiality. Tyler's confidential information, his grades, have now accidentally been made public. All right, so the next one, Joseph's teacher stepped away from her desk. When Joseph went to borrow a pencil, he saw a note on the teacher's desk that another student was failing the class. So what sort of failure of the CIA triad is this? All right, got another thumbs up out there. All right, lots of thumbs up, and that is exactly correct. This too would be a failure of confidentiality, that students' private information, their status in the class, is now known to Joseph. And this This one is completely far-fetched because we would never do that, right? Like we would never leave sticky notes that contain important information on our desk or under our keyboard. We would never do that. The next one says Sienna enjoys playing video games after school. There was an error when she tried to access her favorite game on Tuesday. She was shocked to see that her player profile had been changed and her points had been deleted. So, what sort of failure is failing the most here? This one does, these can spark a little bit of a conversation. So we've got some folks voting for availability, but also integrity. And so we could have the conversation that the thing that appears that is probably the most jarring for Sienna is that when she is finally able to log into her profile, all of her points are gone. Her account is not in the same state as it was before she couldn't access it. So there has definitely been a breach of integrity there. Her account has been changed. So availability would still be on the list because it was not available to her on Tuesday, but she probably could have overlooked that if when she logged into her account, all of her settings and all of her points were still the same. So we would argue the thing that is failing the most is an issue of integrity. Next item up for bids, Mr. Foster was anxious to enter midterm grades before winter break. But when he logged into the school's online gradebook, he received a message that the gradebook was down for an unplanned software update. They do like to do this to us, don't they? Yep, I see lots of confetti party blowers everywhere. This one is an issue of availability that will probably result in a strongly worded letter to IT from us. How could you do that? We were trying to go home. Next scenario, Cedric and Micah compare miles on their fitness tracker apps each week. During Micah's workout, the app malfunctioned and only logged 20 steps, even though he knows it should have recorded more. So which issue is this? Oh, lots of hearts. I'm seeing lots of hearts. I see a availability as well. But somewhere along the line, the integrity of the app's information has been compromised. But again, it's not that there are any hard and fast answers to these questions. So if you've got that one student in the class, like Roy, who can plead his case of why he thinks that the issue is more availability than integrity, have those conversations. Let your students try to persuade the class based on what they know and how they're feeling. So while we offer an answer key, there is absolutely no rule that says that you have to abide by that. If they can make the case, then let them work on those persuasion skills. Absolutely. Next one, today is the first day of statewide computer-based testing. Before school starts, a severe storm results in a power loss, and students are not able to take their test without electricity. Yep, there we go. Certainly availability, right? And we know that the kids are all bummed. They were really looking forward to taking that test. Worst case scenario, they may have to take it on paper. Oh no. So next one, Connie and her best friend Sandra want to watch a movie on a streaming service that neither has an account for. Sandra asks a friend who gives her streaming service username and password. Oh, got a lot of thumbs. Oop, even got a heart there. could be a compromise of integrity, but mostly the friend has messed up and has given away confidential information to Sandra and Connie. And so now she is definitely going to want to make sure she changes that password so that Sandra and Connie don't now have a permanent source of streaming. Next one, the school's IT department took Miss Munoz's laptop to fix a problem. The laptop has the only copy of the class project everyone has been working on together for the past week. They cannot work on the laptop until she gets the laptop back. Oh, yes, Corey. I love that. This is definitely a great opportunity to connect with ELA speaking and listening standards with a class discussion. Absolutely, especially if you're going to allow your kids to make a pitch as to why they think an answer might be different. So yes, that is a great point, and definitely want to put those cross-curricular standards in there. I always loved that because as an elective teacher, I could be like, look, I'm totally working on ELA. This is a thing. Y'all need to get up on my level. But yes, there were a lot of emojis expressing that this is an issue of availability because they don't have that laptop to be able to get their work done. Next up, Abby can't wait to log into her social media app to post happy birthday to her best friend. When she tries to log in, she gets an error message that the app's server is overloaded with traffic. Yep, getting lots of party confetti. This one is an issue of availability. And that service is definitely going to want to do something about that because they are apparently getting mad popular. Next item, as Eli was finishing his online math test, a glitch in the testing software caused his last answer to not be saved. Eli does not feel his math score is fair. Yep, lots of hearts. This one is definitely an issue of integrity. The information that was sent to the teacher or sent when the math test was being checked is definitely not the same information that Eli sent because he answered that question. So the integrity of the information being sent has been compromised. Amaya receives a text message from her friend informing her that really odd posts are being made on her social media account. Amaya is unable to log into her account because her password has been changed. Amaya notified the social media company and her account is frozen. A lot going on there. A lot harder to pick just one emoji there, but I see some thumbs up coming in, some confidentiality. And really and truly, that is the way that we leaned first. Because again, there is a lot going on, but the directions say to pick the part that you think is failing the most. And this is definitely going to start with a breach in confidentiality because someone somehow was able to get access to her account by using her password. And so that is what basically caused the breach of integrity with posts that that clearly weren't something that Amaya would post, and then eventually the availability where she's locked out of her account. But it all starts with a password, and that would be confidentiality. Finally, Hannah inserted a USB drive containing her project. She was sure it was on the thumb drive this morning before she left home, but the file is no longer there. All right, we've got a couple of votes for availability. Yeah, Absolutely. I would tend to think availability too. I mean, possibly integrity, based on what happened to the project, but really and truly, at the heart of the matter, her project is no longer available to her. And so this one would be availability. So this would be your first lesson. And so first lesson goes through, has them thinking about failures within the CIA triad, which meets up with the 6-8 standard for the CIA triad. The career spotlight for this first lesson would be information assurance analyst. The card there would give students information about what it is an information assurance analyst does. And then the putting it all together, once again, reviewing each part of the CIA triad, and even asking the students to maybe as an exit ticket on an index card or on a Google form to come in and give a real life scenario that they make. Deborah, there will be the recording of this will be added to our new upcoming library of professional developments. So absolutely, you will definitely be able to get a copy of this recording. So the second lesson in CIA Triad is called CIA Triad in Jeopardy, and it is a little play on a title there because this lesson will actually include playing a PowerPoint Jeopardy style CIA Triad review game. And so the lesson will start, I took out the guiding question and objective slides just to sort of save time. But this one would start with some scenarios, just like we saw on the thinking links, but this time you would do more of a jigsaw where you put the kids in groups. They get to examine a scenario and then they'll be able to share that scenario and what their group thought, which part of the triad was failing the most. And so we have different scenarios here from the scenarios from the thinking links. And so as you go through, you would have the slides to help the kids present their scenario and then to be able to talk about which part of the triad had failed there. This one also involves a cyber term review. And so this one definitely pulls heavily on ELA as well, because in the activity, you will wind up giving the students the worksheet sort of apropos of nothing, just based on what they have learned from the lessons so far. And so for the first part of the activity, they're going to define those terms: system security, CIA triad, vulnerability, threat, failure, confidentiality, integrity, and availability in their own words. And so once they have had time to go through and define them in their own words, you will then go through and you will share with them probably more concise and more well-rounded definitions than what they may provide, especially a middle school student, because they surely do love to give one-word definitions for something. So you'll be able to provide them with more well-rounded definitions. And then, like I said, there is a CIA triad Jeopardy style game, and it looks like this. It is a separate PowerPoint. So when you go into Canvas to grab the materials for this, you'll notice that there will be two PowerPoints there. One will be the lesson and one will actually be the game. And this one is linked so that when the students pick a category, you are able to click on it. You read them the answer, and of course, in true Jeopardy fashion, they supply the question, and then you are able to click on this little house down here to be taken back to the main screen. And so you are able to have them play Jeopardy for as long as the class period will allow. And then obviously the team with the most points is the winner. The career spotlight for this one is a chief information security officer. We've got our putting it all together wrap up questions once again there. And so now you've got really two great in-depth, compelling lessons explaining a very cerebral and kind of vague concept like the CIA triad. So this one, two very good kind of offline lessons that don't involve a computer, but definitely involve hitting important concepts. So one more Slido question for you there for those of you who still have it up. The web address and the participation code of 1948238 is still there. And so our question asks, how likely are you to use something you saw today in your classroom this school year? And so a 1 is nah, not for me, and a 5 being absolutely. And I know it is making my heart and probably Jess's heart very happy too, that y'all are staying in the 4 and 5 range and no one has picked a 1. So thanks, Jennifer. I'm so glad that you found this awesome. And we are definitely thrilled that you feel more comfortable with cyber.org, because that is the plan. These resources are for you guys, and we definitely want you to embrace them, to make them your own. If they spur an idea for something different that we didn't do, that you could see benefiting our cyber.org family, we surely would love for you to drop us an email and tell us about it. If you made a lesson super great, then we want to be super great too. So we definitely hope that you guys will keep in touch and share your ideas as you have them. So that is pretty much it for the recorded part of our session. We do have one more slide for those of you who are attending in real life. But once again, I think Jess has put in the link for you to sign up for our curriculum. And so